Perhaps you're wondering just what any of this crap on the left side of your screen has to do with anything on the right side of the screen. To find out, watch this new exciting episode of
Dungeons and Coffee!
Alright, these two pieces are part of my collection I made from episode 33, and the main ingredient is shown here. These are just some thorns I found out in the woods. I could just as easily have used toothpicks, which I have done in the past, and I'll show you the technique for the toothpicks as well. It's the same technique, but of course I was using my woodland crafts. So the painting technique I used on them was to make them look dusty and dirty, yet I also wanted some color to pop out because they are in the caves, and the one to my left especially is sort of Underdarkish in tone. So see, there's some greens, yellows, purples, blues. I just painted them in such a way that it would look dusty. So yeah, thorns, foam, hot glue, and paint. These pieces also are made the same way as what we just looked at. The difference is I used toothpicks here because I didn't have the thorns readily available. And as you can see, they do the exact same thing. And again, I wanted these to look a little different with some color, because everybody does the drab granite stone, which is beautiful. But once in a while you want some color variation in there. So as you can see, we did some dry brushing of a few different colors, highlighting the tips, taking advantage of the hot glue to give that drippy, cavernous look. Alright, here's some more pieces that I did not make over the course of a video series. So I thought it might be helpful to some folks out there to point this out too. Again, more stalagmites here. And the difference here is, if you can look and compare, toothpicks, hot glue, some foam, paint them up, bam, you got it. Well, these were a little different technique. As you can see, the texture in them. Texture is different. It's always good to have different textures in your work, just so you can have variety. But what I did here is these are simply newspaper, tissue, paper towel. You can use whatever sort of paper you have readily available. But I just made them very wet with some half and half glue, like DM Scotty uses. Some Elmer's glue, half water, watered it down, soaked them, and put them in the shape I needed. And when they dried, voila, a very lightweight cave piece that I can use for my cavern settings. And of course, you know, as you can see, you just dry brush, use whatever color variants you want. And so that's another style, another technique you can use. This is a toothpick with some paper over top of it. Again, you get really lightweight. See, these are lightweight enough you can throw them in a box and just take them with you on the go. So that's where the lightweight comes in really handy, I think. Same technique. The only thing used here, it was paper, glue, water, some cardboard for the bottom, paint. Again, it's big, but it's very lightweight. It's heavy enough to where it won't just blow over. Same here, a little bigger. As you can see, of course I put some gloss over top when I was finished because I want them to look kind of wet. But as you can see, the texture is gorgeous. I love the texture this way. Here's just a rock with the same technique. As you can see, there's different ways you can do it. The only thing, when you go between, again, when we compare, right? This looked really good. I like this too, but I like to have different textures for different kinds of stones and different settings, right? So with that in mind, when you compare this technique with, say this one, and especially this one with the lighter color, I think you can see it a little better. It can be a little obvious where some of the larger cracks end up. So I came up with a midpoint technique, at least that's what I'm calling it for this video, for lack of better words. This is your typical foam. Now, it looks great. It looks great. But in my opinion, the best is what I'm about to show you now. So, we've looked at this technique and the foam only technique, right? And we've looked at the all-out paper technique, right? So there we go. So we've looked at those. So next I want to show you this technique. It doesn't matter if you use the really crappy white foam that flakes so easily, you know, the little beads that fall all the time, or the really good blue stuff or the pink stuff. It doesn't matter, because what I did with this technique is I just took the foam and made the shape I wanted and put it on the base. As you can see, I'm still working on some of these bases. But I took the wet paper towel that had been soaked in 50% glue, 50% water, and I took that and I put the tissue or the towel, you could use paper as well, over top of the foam. And when that dried, it gave me these delicious looking cracks and this texture that is just the bomb. I love that. Now, it does take a little longer to do that, but if you have a little patience, you know, you just grab your foam, throw your tissue on there, and then come back later when it's dry to paint it. And here's just different pieces I made with that exact technique. So, weighs virtually nothing, but enough to where it's not easily going to blow over. If you're outside on a picnic table or something and you're playing out there and it's windy, then maybe, but they still have enough weight to where you don't have to worry about them. And as you can see, here's a rock with that technique. The rock we looked at before with the paper only technique compared to the rock with the foam overlaid with paper technique. I don't have names for these techniques, obviously, but you can see the difference. You know, this one is pretty obvious as to how it was made. This one looks more natural, in my opinion, because it doesn't overdo either of those styles. You need a good cavernous setting. You have to have a hole in the floor. Of course, you could set it up. That could be a wall, whatever the case. So you need that. And you need a little pool of fresh water, or is it? And here's some more mix and matching of techniques. This is pretty much what I just showed you. Foam covered with the tissue. I believe this was the Kleenex tissue or toilet tissue. I think it was Kleenex. This was the really thin tissue. But just a little interesting Underdark piece to stick here and there, you know, where you need something. And this is the all-out paper Underdark piece. As you can see, looks a little odd to use such bright colors sometimes, but keep in mind when I'm doing Underdark, I like to throw in a black light once in a while to make things glow. And this is the toothpick over top of paper technique. So anyway, just a nice little variety there of different ways you can mix and match techniques, which I invite you to do as often as possible, because that's how we learn how to do different things and even sometimes create little ideas that a lot of folks haven't thought of yet. All right, time to get this finished up here. 3 more pieces I wanted to point out for one reason only. This is the foam, stacked foam with tissue over top of it, let dry. Something that blends in great with this color variation is wood glue. So some of these puddles here on the side looks fantastic, looks very natural in my opinion. If you've been caving, you'll know what I'm talking about. But all I did here when it was still fairly damp is I just doused it with a good bit of wood glue and I let that slowly drip down as it dried, and it gave me that really awesome effect. So there's that. Okay, no tissue was used on these next 2 pieces I'm showing you, but I wanted to show you to give you an idea of how important it is to allow gravity to help you with cave pieces sometimes. Like with the stalactites, stalagmites. As you can see, we used hot glue. We let that drip down, and this was repeated. This whole dripping process was repeated even throughout the painting process. So, for instance, you'll water down your paint, you'll apply it at the top, and you'll let that naturally drip down, and it gives you some really good coloration. Makes it look really, really natural. And here's a bigger piece. This is similar to the first one I showed you where I used the Thorns. Very similar. We're going for a different sort of rock system, though. This is just a stick in the middle and hot glue to give it some girth, leaving it narrow in the middle to, again, give that illusion of the centuries of dripping and mineral formation and all that jazz. So, there you go. Well, I suppose that's about it for now. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep your books off the table and keep reaching for the dice.